If you never lost the head of your pickaxe while mining, or have feared for your life while being chased by the evil chicken, I'm not sure that you actually grew up playing RuneScape. There's this rich history of random events that were once punishing but have long since been removed from the game. Or have they? Let's talk about that. By the way, my girlfriend and I create RuneScape figurines instead of flogging t-shirts. They're a great way to support me and my channel and get something cool and RuneScape related in return. Super smooth figurines are now on sale. The link is in the description. Thank you so much. Originally introduced as an anti-botting measure, some random events were only in the game for a very short period of time. Some were severely bugged, extremely aggravating to players, or just way too punishing. One of the shortest lived in-game was known as Pious Pete's Candle Lighting. Released in late February of 2006, this was only in the game for at most a couple of months. It's probably the most wholesome discontinued random event, but it's also the one that the least amount of people ever experienced because shortly after it came into fruition, it was silently removed from the game. There is no known footage of this random event. However, check out this website from 2006, created by Stevenator80. It describes how to solve the event. So here's what we know. You would get randomly teleported by Pete to his church and he would ask you to light just the brand new candles, not ones that are kind of loppy and have been lit before. He gives you a candle, this first person type of interface opens where you control the movement with some arrows and you light the candles. This was very much one of the gift giver random events, gifts used to incentivize the player into not hating Jagex for actually adding random events into the game, and so upon completing it, you would often get bones or a half of a key. The location of this event is actually still in game to this day. If you go to the north section of the Blast Furnace minigame and you use the Orb of Oculus, if you're lucky enough to have one, or RuneLight's free cam, you can actually see the church. Many random events are still in the game in some sort of capacity, this one on the less official side. Some random events have officially been moved to new locations as a little tribute. One random event, released in August of 2005, did get a tribute. It was known as Dr. Ford, and while you were woodcutting or mining, randomly a piece of wood or stone could hit you on the head. And if this happened, Dr. Ford would appear and ask you to identify how many fingers he was holding up. The amount of fingers that he would hold up was random, and Jagex started getting a lot of reports of players getting the middle finger from this random event. On top of that, the event was very buggy. Often the doctor would duplicate himself numerous times, and even when you selected the right amount of fingers, it would register as incorrect and you'd still get teleported away. So, in September of 2006, they removed the event for good. I wonder if anybody watching this video has personally been flipped off by Dr. Ford. Throughout the history of these random events, there has been many that would actually kill players. This is in contrast to today where you won't die from a random event, ever. And back in the day when these events were present, if you died, all of your items would be dropped to the ground for anybody to take, instantly. Death was punishing in 2004, but what was more punishing is the random event known as Tanglevine, which made it into the game for a whole of 3 hours. Here's how it worked. Vines would spawn at your feet, and if you did anything, moved, clicked on the screen, whatever, you would start taking damage. The only way to avoid this damage was to do nothing for 10 seconds and then the vines would disappear. The logic for implementing this is that, hey, bots move around, so if we put this random event in place, they'll still move around and therefore the bots will die. Well, to quote a JMod, here's the problem. When players see something that they don't understand, their first reaction is to move around and try to get away from it. And so players were dying left and right from these Tanglevines, and to make matters worse, they also had a bug where they would just delete any scenery that was beneath them, so if they spawned on Port Sarim docks, once they despawned, the dock would actually just be invisible. And so, within 3 hours, Andrew Gower himself went back to the office and fixed the problem. He completely got rid of the Tanglevine random event. This wasn't the only devastating random event to players. In fact, there was a lot of random events that offered no reward but would rather just kill the player if they didn't respond in the appropriate way. In fact, there's a whole category of random events known as Guardians, and their sole intent was to attack the player. These are your evil chickens, your river trolls, your tree spirits, your rock golems. But one particularly devastating one that little people know about because it was removed quite fast was the Watchman random. Introduced in February of 2004, this guy would spawn when you're thieving, and his combat level would scale up based on your own combat level. He would hit quite hard, and if you know anything about thieving, you know you're often doing it not wearing high level gear, and you might very well have low hit points because you're taking damage from whatever it is you're trying to steal from. In other words, people were dying left and right at this guy's hands, and so due to many complaints, Jagex removed him. Interestingly enough, however, he was actually originally featured in the Draenor bank robbery scene. I'm sure you've guys seen that, but after his removal, they replaced him with another guard. Kinda sad. I've got another one that caused a lot of confusion. It's the strange box, and you probably did experience this yourself if you played the game before the random event update in 2014. It's a simple matching game. Either match the shape to the number or the number to the shape. But what makes this box interesting is its mechanic to duplicate itself. But one second, I just want to tell you a small fact about this box when it was first released. It wasn't originally matching numbers to shapes, it was matching colors to shapes, and as you can imagine, if you were colorblind, this would cause a lot of problems. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. This box will duplicate itself if ignored in your inventory, and it won't stop duplicating either. It'll fill up your inventory with these strange boxes, and then once your inventory is completely full, it starts stacking them. So you could have infinite stacks of strange boxes in your inventory if you just let them sit for long enough. Upon release in 2004, many players found this confusing and took to the forums saying that there's a big bug with this random event. But unlike the other ones that we've mentioned, Jagex didn't do anything to change it, and this stayed into the game until random events were made obsolete. You can still find the mysterious old man, the guy who gave out these boxes, in Falador though. After he was retired, he was placed here, and if you talk to him, he lets you know that he's still trying to solve one of his own strange boxes. Why were random events ever retired in the first place? Today, the few that are still in the game you can just dismiss, and long gone are the days where an evil chicken tries to peck you to death. In what is now RuneScape 3, random events were originally removed because the anti-cheating system got better, and of course bots were already beating random events at this time anyways, so they didn't serve their original purpose, they got rid of them. But of course, when old school RuneScape was released in 2013, it was the game as it was in 2007, and that meant all those weird random events were back. But they still had that problem that they weren't actually doing anything. Bots could beat them, they weren't serving to actually detect bots, and so in 2014, Jagex made a poll asking the players if they wanted random events removed in some capacity, and it was agreed upon that random events which offered no benefit to the player, aka the ones that would kill you, would be removed, and the ones that did offer some sort of reward or cosmetic item would stay, but you would just have the option to dismiss them. And thus, random events are really an afterthought unless it's that genie, because everybody loves runecrafting experience, or you're an Iron Man that wants a couple extra gems, or you're maxed and you're trying to collect those clothing pieces. We didn't spend much time talking about those Guardian random events though that did get removed. I like these ones so much because they're such a strong contrast to the original proposal for random events when they're first released, right? Random events were meant to be made in a way that rewarded the player for actually completing them to make them less annoying, but all these Guardian ones just straight up killed you. They didn't give you any reward whatsoever. There was one for mining, one for woodcutting, one for fishing, and two for prayer. And then there was also the evil chicken that would appear at any skill. And today, these can be found around various places in RuneScape. The rock golem for mining, the tree spirit for woodcutting, and the river troll for fishing can all be found in the Enchanted Valley, also known as the valley where NPCs go to die. As for the evil chicken, you can still experience that guy at the Champions Guild. And then the two prayer ones, the Shade and Zombie respectively, were worked into the Stronghold of Security on the very bottom floor. This isn't all of the Guardians though, in fact there's a couple more even stranger random events that would deal damage to the player. The first one I want to tell you about is Poison Gas. This was a random event that would happen when you're thieving chest. Occasionally, a little blob of green gas would come out of it, and it would deal some damage to you as a player with a green hit splat. This was counterintuitive because green hit splats typically mean you've been dealt poison, and if you don't use an antidote, you'll keep getting hit, but this one didn't actually poison you, it just did a little bit of damage. Interestingly enough, you can still find the model and animation used in this green poison when you're killing undead ones on Karumja. The next one you might have been harassed by yourself. It's the swarm. This was just like a little thing of bugs that would start attacking you and you couldn't fight them back, and they would attack you for upwards of 10 minutes unless you ran a really far distance away. There is still one category of random events which we have not talked about. Those are the equipment damaging random events. Back in 2004, if you're mining, woodcutting, it was possible for either the head or handle of your pickaxe or axe to break and just fly off into the distance, and if you didn't go pick it up and reattach it, another player could pick it up. And in 2004, this was a big deal because if you weren't paying attention and you lost your rune axe, that was actually very devastating because those things were not cheap. A similar thing used to happen with fishing too. A big fish would appear, he'd glop up whatever you're using the fish with and then spit it out a few tiles away. And there was actually more nefarious variations of each of these equipment damaging random events. For mining, rocks used to explode. If whatever you're mining started smoldering and you didn't stop mining it, it would blow up, breaking your pickaxe, and you'd have to take it to the Dwarven mine to go and get it repaired. With fishing, if a whirlpool appeared and you didn't stop fishing right away, it would suck up whatever you're using and you would have to go and buy a new one. As for woodcutting, an ent would appear on the tree, and like mining, if you didn't stop cutting right away, your axe would be broken and you would have to take it to Bob in Lumbridge to have it repaired. Let me know if you've experienced any of these weird and bizarre random events in the comment section below. That's all I had for this video. Don't forget, we're making RuneScape figurines. Jads are now super smooth and pre-orders are open on Forecasts and KBDs, which are also super smooth, made out of resin. I appreciate the support. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, love, peace, and chicken grease.